as so many before me have done, but to prove them by reason of experiments.
The most important of Newton's experiments was what came to be called the crucial experiment, experimentum crucis.
Newton reckoned he'd found an absolute demonstration that shows that Descartes' story about the origin of colour is rubbish. And if you could show that story is rubbish, then the whole of Descartes' philosophy falls to bits. And then, which is the prize Newton was after, the whole of this bad religion that Descartes and his allies are peddling would be swept away.
And it all hung on the single question: is white light pure, and do prisms make colours by modifying it, as Descartes claimed? Newton tested this assertion by carefully drilling a hole in a screen and allowing just the red part of the spectrum to pass through. Now this was the moment of truth. If Descartes was right, then a second prism would cause the red light to be modified, and new colours would be produced. If Newton was right, the red light would remain the same.
That was Newton's crucial experiment. Why is it crucial? Because it shows that prisms don't change colours, they analyse them. If the red light coming from the original spectrum is really primitive, basic, elementary and simple, it can't be analysed any further when it passes through the second prism. So this simultaneously suggested that white light really is a mixture of several different colours, and that here's a colour, red for example, which is truly primitive.
My observations, though paradoxical, are clear. It is each separate colour that is pure, and it is the white light that is the mixture.
Once Isaac Newton had assembled a kind of bank balance of experiments which he reckoned were completely convincing, he behaved exactly as a 17th century experimenter in England was supposed to behave. He put them together as a series of letters and sent them from Cambridge to the Royal Society as a series of recipes which he invited the experimental community to repeat.
Newton had shown that all of his contemporaries' ideas about light and colours were just completely wrong. He had rewritten the Book of Light.
In 1703, Isaac Newton became president of the Royal Society of London. Newton released his great book on light and colour. It was almost immediately recognised as one of the greatest works of modern experimental philosophy.
The time has finally come to put the nature of light beyond question.
What had started as an argument over the divine nature of light had turned into something far, far bigger. Newton's dogged insistence that any exploration of light had to be grounded in strict experimental observation heralded the dawn of enlightenment. And it is this enlightenment that has ultimately spawned the modern scientific worldview.
The old questions were religious questions. Where do we come from? What are we made of? What is our future?
But in the 17th century, with Isaac Newton, something unprecedented happened. A new way of finding out creation was invented. The experimental method. Experiments on light deliver us to a modern vision of the world, to our own way of understanding how the world works.
Science had been created, and by its light, the world would never look the same again.
Next on Light Fantastic, how we learnt to manipulate light, how, from Galileo to Herschel, the simple tools of light overthrew the entire model of the universe.
Stay with us tonight for the antics of a series of out-of-control emperors who brought the Roman Empire to its knees. Its decline and fall, in the words of historian Edward Gibbon, next.